home, sweet home to me. Good old Rocky Top, Tennessee. Rocky Top, Tennessee.
Hello all, 85 here. I hope you all are doing well today. Today we'll be speaking of the first and only America-class battleship, the Tennessee. The Tennessee started its career in the very late, in a couple of days after Christmas of 1991. The vessel was completed and had a very short trial period because of her construction in a dry dock. She had a shorter than average trial period and she would commission only about a little under a year later in 1992, or in August of 1992. From 1993 from 1993 to 2008, the ship was the flagship of the White Star Line battle fleet, and on several occasions wound up in combat with enemy units and various local conflicts. In fact, you can see one here. Aside from local conflict, the ship was the ship usually found itself either in a flight doing diplomatic missions or just doing flagship duties during peacetime, and is the only battleship to ever sail into Anchorage Naval Base that is not the Alaska. And that's the Alaska's home. It went there on a diplomatic mission. The ship's home port is whatever it needs. Yeah, it doesn't actually have one because the guy who runs this channel hasn't built a port in the game, so I don't have any port names, which I've been bugging him to build one. So anyways, the Tennessee had a very, very active role in the Alcan Civil War after the ship had been. The ship was the only capital ship actually available, and during the 2-month period where the Ireland and the Kansas were either, in the Ireland's case, being raised from the harbor and repaired, and in the Kansas case, escorting convoys and just being an all-around amazing vessel. The Tennessee did a lot of coastal bombardment and engaged the flagship of the Alcan fleet. The North Alcan's flagship, the Yakimo, which looks a lot alike to the Yamato. The Henry Ford and the Tennessee engaged and managed to sink, as well as an Alcan dreadnought, name still unknown. They managed to destroy both vessels, and the ship was extremely effective in its bombardment role after its engagement at White Stocks, which is an island chain about 100 miles north of North Alcan, which is, by the way, an Arctic territory. So yeah, the Tennessee sustained heavy damage, so she would not see any more combat against vessels and for the next couple of months. And during the last part of the Alcan Civil War, it, along with several other capital ships, such as the Kansas, got destroyed most, if not all, of the Alcan cruiser fleet. This destroyed about 4 cruisers, and it is second only to the Kansas, which managed to destroy 8 at harbor and 4 in open waters. Because, I mean, the Kansas is the reason that the Alcan Civil War was ended, sailing up the river and destroying their capital. Post-Alcan Civil War, the Tennessee would see many major refits, and in 2008, it gave up its flagship. It gave up its flagship status to the Wartanic, which had been in service for about 4 years at this point. But the Wartanic had been a very secretive ship until then, so, I mean, yeah. Of course it wasn't a flagship, it was doing stuff in secret. Being really shady. Anyways. From there, the Tennessee has, for the most part, kind of just sat around and gotten a refit here and there and done some fleet exercises, but not a whole lot. In terms of design, the ship is 280 something meters long. She has 18 16-inch guns in 6 triple turrets. She has 2 catapults at the rear, and it has a anti-aircraft battery of 25-inch dual-purpose guns, and then I think around 40 millimeter Bofors guns. The ship does not often fight anyways. In 2010, the ship managed to run aground in harbor after the Henry Ford started. After the Henry Ford's refit, the Henry Ford was sailing out of port, and the Tennessee had to turn to evade the ship, upon which the Tennessee ran aground. And as of the recording of this video, by the way, the current year in the world that these ships exist in, is 2010. The Tennessee is currently under refit and repair, and has caught fire recently, and thankfully nobody was killed. However, she does have a fire problem, which is extremely painful for the makers, because they didn't need that to be a thing. The ship has been, so far, a extremely effective ship, being heavily